That's what my objection is. We can go 100 if I get excited. Well, backing up. Talking together. Stevens.
I'd like to call this town council meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roxanne, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Allen?
Here.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes, here.
Mr. Dombrowski?
Here.
Mr. Eichelberg?
Yes.
Mr. France?
Here.
Mr. Marshall?
Here.
Mrs. McGrattan?
Here.
Mr. Somm?
Here.
Mrs. Ledecky? 8 here, 1 absent.
At this time, are there any resident and property owner comments? Hearing none. Committee, commission, and board reports. Are there representatives here from SCARA?
Yes.
Yes, please, at this time.
Thank you.
The issue at hand here is we're looking for an extension to the current municipal services contract we have with the town of Ledyard and SCARA for the disposal of solid waste. So what we'd like to do, and I'll try to be brief, I know your evening's starting to run on you here a little bit. I'd like to give you a little bit of a background on the history of SCARA, who we are, what we do. That history should blend into the contractual arrangements that make this extension necessary. I'd like to continue on, basically touch on some of the benefits that being with SCARA has provided Ledyard and the region, and then open up to any questions you might have that are left over at the end of that. SCARA was formed in 1985. It's an authority that represents 11 communities in southeastern Connecticut. It's formed to implement solid waste disposal, recycling, and resource recovery systems for the region. At the time it was organized in 1985, the authority invested in 30-year bonds, which financed the construction of a waste-to-energy facility that is in Preston, just up here on Route 12. That facility is kind of the heart of the disposal operations that we have. It burns 270,000 tons of garbage a year. Putting that a little bit more precise, you can imagine 700 tons of garbage a day brought in from the different sources. SCARA represents about 45% of the volume, so just about half of the 700 tons a day. That the garbage is burned in dual burners with boilers around them that generate steam that creates goes to a generator that generates about 20 megawatts of electricity a year, which we sell to CL&P under contract. In addition to the facility we own, we've over the years invested in about 33 acres of land that are adjacent to it, which have a rail siding, have some potential uses. We have a staff of 5 of us, so we're very small. We report to a board of directors that is made up of either selectmen or public works officials from the municipalities that we serve. The process of burning the trash removes, it reduces the volume of the trash by about 90%. So the ash that's left is only 10% of the original volume. That's taken up to Lisbon to a landfill there. Connecticut is the only state in the union that has no municipal landfills. We made that decision way back when we were going to get out of that. We do have the ash landfill, but we currently have no active landfills anywhere in the state. A little bit about the contracts and the finances of this. As I said, the bonds, when the bonds were created, there were 30-year bonds. At the time we created them, there was a 30-year or a contract with each municipality and the authority that would run the length of the bonds. So when the bonds are retired, the current municipal agreements also expire with that. Concurrent with those, there is a contract to the people that operate the facility. There's a company by the name of Covance Energy, very large international company. They've got, I think, about 80 of these plants around the world, about 50 in the United States. Their contract runs with us for that same period of time up until the bonds are retired. There's a third contract, which is the power purchase agreement with CL&P, which ties us into rates that we are getting for the electricity that we generate. That revenue is shared between ourselves and Covance in about a 60-40 split. It is a very lucrative contract. When the plan was created or financed in 85, it was supposed to be operational in 90. The contract with CL&P is a 25-year contract. If things had all aligned and started at the right time, the bonds, the contract, everything would have all expired at the same time. There were delays in beginning of the operations of the facility that slowed it just about 15 months, which means that the power purchase agreement runs through February of 2017. So what we have is a situation where we have bonds that will be expired, that will be retired in November of 2015. We have revenue contract that goes through 2017. So we're going to have a period of about 15 months without the bond debt or with the energy revenue. The revenue from the energy is one of two streams of revenue that finance the operation. There's some very minor ones where we sell metals and things like that that are pulled out of the trash that have a commodity value. But the two main ways that we bring revenue into the plant are either the tipping fees that the municipalities pay, tipping fees that are brought in by the spot market or just open. The other 50% of the garbage is brought in from other parts of the state, and then the electrical contract. We have enjoyed the lowest rates, tipping fees in the state. We currently have the lowest tipping fees in the state. The board just voted last month on our budget for 2013, which begins in July. We actually voted the rate down. We were at $60. We actually voted it down to $58 for next year. So we're seeing some of that benefit even in the tipping fee right now. In the packets that I gave you, there is a sheet in there that's entitled Southeastern Connecticut Regional Resource Recovery Authority and Ledyard Solid Waste Disposal Plan, and it breaks down some of the benefits of membership. The next page in there is a graph that I'm referring you to that this isn't comprehensive. I'm not going to say exactly a perfect rate, but we went in and pulled the rates that are being paid and have been paid around the state over the last 10, 12 years. And we have taken the contracts that other areas of the state have signed and projected out the minimum increases that are built into their current contract. Each contract that's been signed has a consumer price index multiplier so that each year the operators of the plants get to adjust their fee. And when you look at this chart, you can see that in the case of virtually everyone, those fees between now and 2022 are going up exponentially, really. They're going up very quickly, and these are actually minimums. In our case, because we have the authority, and particularly the board of directors of the authority, has been very sound in the fiscal management. We've been able to reinvest into the system. We think that we can offset any indicators, any increases that we'll see in the CPI in the future. So we're projecting at or lower than where we are right now for the foreseeable future. So one benefit, obviously, in being a member of the authority is price stability. That's the obvious one. A couple of other things that we do is we've invested in a number of other aspects of solid waste that benefit both Ledyard and the region as a whole. We've invested in a tub grinder, very big 85,000-pound machine, drives around from transfer station to transfer station, grinds up all the brown waste that's brought in, grinds it into essentially mulch that different communities do different things with. Sometimes it's available to the population for use, personal use. Sometimes it's used public works for a variety of things. But that's something that we do and perform as part of the tipping fee. Okay? And we're the only people in the state that incorporate things in the tipping fee other than just getting rid of trash. So that's one benefit. Another benefit that we have is we have negotiated and coordinated a number of areas that support the transfer systems. We have a recycling coordinator. By statute, every community in the state of Connecticut is supposed to have a recycling coordinator. Because we have one in the authority, we satisfy that for all of our member towns. Our coordinator has contracts where we support and pay for the removal of some things like free on light bulbs. We have tire disposal. We collect and dispose of oil, antifreeze. I'm not going to name them all. I should be able to rattle them off, but I'm not going to do that for you today. But there's quite a number of things, and that information as to what those services are is in this package. We also have negotiated a single-stream recycling contract. The authority is, because of the volume, we were able to get a favorable price out of Willimantic waste paper, just up here in Willimantic, for single-stream recycling that provided about 15% benefit to the member towns that use it. That monetized here comes to about $42,000 a year. And then the other thing that we do, the other two things that we do, we hold all the hazardous household waste collections for the region, hold them and pay for them. We have about 10 a year. We have one here. That in addition to education to our youngsters on recycling and green efforts, keep our recycling coordinator pretty busy. The last thing I'd refer to you in the packet is a chart, which this is service statistics. And what this does is it shows you the broader regional benefits that the authority provides to the 11 member towns and monetizes it out. And you can see the ledger line in there matches the page that I gave you. So at the end of the day, I guess taking it back to, we enjoy the lowest tipping rate in the state. We provide more services than anybody else for that tipping rate. We have an opportunity with these contracts, if we can get the extension of the municipal contract to line up with the power purchase agreement, we have a chance to put ourselves in a position to keep solid waste disposal and the other things, the other benefits the authority provides for the foreseeable future. One other thing I'll mention is that concurrent with what's going on, if we exercise the extensions and everyone agrees to it, and so far everybody has. We've already gotten agreements from Norwich, Groton, Stonington, Griswold, and Sprague. Now here we're going to be in East Lyme on Friday, and the other member towns shortly after that. The service contract with Savannah remains exactly the same. So it's under the exact same terms that we are under now and have been under to extend through the extensions to 2017. And during that time, what we'll be doing is negotiating where we're going to go very different economic model. It's one that we think that we have a chance of being very successful at providing the same kind of services we have over the last 23 years. And we'll do that for the next 15 or 20, hopefully. So, with all that being said, any questions for me or clarifications?
Yes,
Yes.
Councilor France.
One question, you mentioned that the CLMP contract is very lucrative, and
Yes.
it expires in February of 17.
Yes.
What do you foresee changes at that point? Do you see that rate going down? Would that affect tipping fee, and how would you adjust for that?
The intent would be to utilize some of the funds that will accumulate during this time to offset future increases. And the cost will change precipitously. It's very different. Because of the natural gas market, the sale of electricity per kilowatt hour, I think the last contract that CRA in Hartford got was around 3.5 cents. Really, to run one of these plants appropriately, it should be closer to the 7-8 cents per kilowatt hour. So there's a difference that has to be made up. We are one of the few places, really the only place in the state that's in a position to make that deficit up with the funds that we can bring in through this extension, and then just be able to keep going.
Any other questions from councilors?
Yes.
So, when the bonds expire and Covanta owns the plant and decides to renegotiate a contract, what do you foresee as the tipping fee trend? Do you see it flat, going up, down,
We're in a position to keep it flat or even lower. That's what our goal is.
indefinitely?
Well, we'll be around. I would think for quite a long time. Yeah, we're in a very unique and good position. And it's really due to some, I'd like to take credit, I've only been with the authority for a year, but I can say that the board of directors of the authority has done a really nice job.
Thank you.
Any other questions of councilors? Thank you. Oops,
I
Mayor.
just have a statement to make. I appreciate you coming, and I very much appreciate, and, I was around a little bit with Mayor McGrattan when this was all in its infancy, and we were talking about garbage, as you would call it back then.
Kitchen mix.
And there were some issues over the years with, times when we weren't meeting quotas and things. I have to say that SCARA has been one of the most successful cooperatives that I have seen in this area. And we especially enjoy having Winston here in our town. I think, don't tell everybody this, but I think that Ledyard really benefits from having him here. He does things as nitty-gritty as getting in his car early in the morning and driving around town to see how we're doing with recycling, and working closely with my assistant, Mark Bancroft. I just think it's a win-win. And so I'd like to thank them for everything that they do on the local level.
Appreciate that very much. Keep doing it.
Thank you.
All right.
All
Thank
good
you.
news, and we'll be voting on it this evening.
Very good. Appreciate that. And my card is in there. If any of you have any follow-ups or anything, please give me a call.
Okay, any other committee, commission, board reports? Comments of town councilors, any comments this evening? Wow.
There have been a lot of comments, and I just want to know them. I think everybody here shares concern over Officer Jonathan Lay in Norwich.
Thank you.
I would like to just express my appreciation for the Ledyard Volunteer Emergency Squad. I have a family member who was transported to the hospital on Sunday evening, and I have elderly parents. One has passed away, one elderly parent at this point, and the response that I've seen from them over the years has just been so remarkable that I just wanted to publicly acknowledge what a great job they do and say thank you.
Well, thank you for those comments. Any other council comments at this time? Okay, review and approval of prior meeting minutes.
So moved. Second.
A motion and a second. Roxanne, would you call the roll?
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan?
Yes.
Mr. Soms?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski?
Yes.
Mr. Eichelberg?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
8 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. I have a list of communications and referrals. Council subcommittees, admin, Councilor Eichelberg.
Administration Committee met earlier this evening. And we discussed a number of items. Moved forward several appointments, which we'll see later this evening. And the presentation we just had was one of the items that we discussed from SCARA. And that's about it.
Thank you. Any questions for Councilor Eichelberg? Community Services, Councilor Marshall.
We won't meet until tomorrow evening.
Okay. Any questions? Finance Committee, Councilor Freeman.
Finance Committee met last Wednesday. The items that we presented for that meeting are on the agenda tonight. Other than that, the one item I'd like to discuss is last evening the Town Council Finance Committee and the Board of Ed Finance Committee met in a joint meeting to begin the process of putting together our town's budget for the coming year. It was a very good and open discussion between the Board of Ed Finance Committee, the Town Council Finance Committee, several additional town councils attended. The superintendent was engaged as well. So I think it was a very good start to the budget process.
Thank you. Any questions for finance at this time? Information Technology, Councilor Sons.
Information technology met last night, and I think we have a long evening in front of us, so I'm going to brief my comments and just mention that there's a full report online on IQM2. We discussed a proposal from Mr. Bruce Edwards of TRB Media to produce a video on recycling, and I think that's apropos just given the presentation we just heard. The cost savings to the town are significant. The cost that we would pay for this video to be produced is minimal. Basically, it's $2,760 to produce the video. It would be educational to educate residents and students about the value of recycling, both for the environment and also financially. We're proposing that the mayor contribute. We're asking the mayor consider contributing 60% of the cost out of his budget, and that the Board of Ed consider contributing 40% out of their budget. Did a little research. The town of Ledyard consumes or disposes of 5,000 tons of garbage per year. Every ton that we convert to recyclables, we save at least $60 a ton. We would need to reduce our total tonnage for the year by 46 tons to pay for this video. It's less than 1%, and I think it would be an excellent value, and it would be paid for, and we could continue to use the video going forward in future years. That would be, I think we'll save way more than 46 tons of converted garbage to recyclables. Other things I'll mention, I'll comment on the town council budget later on tonight. And I think I just want to wrap things up with a general statement that our MIS director and the town employees have been doing a fantastic job of implementing new software on many fronts for the town. The productivity studies I've read in the past 10 to 20 or even 30 years show that this American economy has been as successful as it has been, even in bad years, because of software and improved employee productivity. The Munis software payroll system went in, and we did payroll for the first time on the new system. There's lots and lots of other things the town has been doing, very successful. I want to thank all the town employees, especially the MIS director. That's my report.
Any questions for Councilor Sons? Land Use Planning, Councilor Dombrowski.
Land use planning met last night. Only item to discuss is that Mike Terry, chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission, approached the committee to start discussion for budget discussion. He's working on putting that budget together, and he's also looking at discussing funding to start to do the update for the update for plan conservation and work that would be required there. That's all we have.
Thank you. I read an article somewhere. It was on some patch in some part of the state that the planning and Conservation Development Plan, they sent out a online survey, and they had 600 responses. And it wasn't a gigantic town. I thought that was pretty significant. Any other questions of land use? Okay, moving on to Counselor Allen, Board of Education Liaison.
Yes, the Board of Ed had a meeting last Wednesday. The gist of it basically was security, school security. Obviously, it's a big issue right now, and there is a meeting tomorrow night at the Ledyard Middle School, which is open to all residents, and the council and the mayor has been invited as well. That's at 7 p.m. Their finance committee obviously is meeting with Councilor France, and they're working on their budget right now, so that's the bulk of their load right now. And their ad hoc committees are winding down, working on the 6th grade transitions to the Juliet Long School. And there should be a recommendation forthcoming on that very soon, and I'll keep you apprised of that as soon as that comes up.
Actually, in the meeting last night, they said that they were not going to move to 6th grade. Hot off
So
the
a week
presses.
later, they changed.
That's right. I was
All right.
as stunned as you were, because I also have been given that information. And in fact, I mentioned, for those that were there, I mentioned numerous times that we've already announced to the
Yeah.
world
Yeah,
that
yeah.
the 6th grade was moving.
That's
But they
where
did
they were
change
headed.
their mind and just felt that it should be a more gradual process, and so they decided to postpone that for this year at least. So
Well, the kindergarten is still
the
going.
kindergarten
Yeah.
is still on.
Yeah,
Any
Yeah, all day K. Yep.
on the night. Any other questions for board liaison? Any other liaison reports? Yes.
WPCA held a special meeting on Tuesday, December 18th, here. The meeting was specifically to address delays in the Avery Hill pump station. As many of you know, we've had many months of delays and expecting a set of design drawings, and it's come to the point where it's holding up the project. So we met with the engineer who is designing and redesigning the pump station, and the good news and the short end of it is those plans are on their way to DPH for approval. As soon as we have DPH approval, we can put the construction bids out to, or the designs out to bid. We could have a pump station begun as early as April. Does have to pass planning and zoning, so I give a heads up to the chair of planning that we need to get this done in a timely manner. And we may have a pump station sometime in June if all of those things happen in order, which will help, I think, make a lot of people over in Avery Hill Road and Elgin Heights very happy. And it's quite a pump station, I might add. It better be, yeah.
Any other questions for Councilor Soms? You have, tonight you are going to have a new appointment to WPCA. How does that leave you with members?
We still need members. I'm very grateful to see that appointment. I think we will still be short at least two, still short two. So anyone who is interested in this exciting new pump station and other things is welcome to volunteer. The town of Ledyard always appreciates its volunteers.
Okay, report of the mayor, Mayor Rodlico.
Okay, thank you. The town has contracted with Mr. Joey Larkin to be our zoning enforcement official. He will be working half-time here in town. He is the Stonington zoning official at this time also. We did go out to look for an official full-time on our own. We did not find anyone that we considered suitable. So right now we're filling in, and he is managing to keep us up to speed. I've heard no complaints from either wetlands or zoning that the commissions or our residents were not being served. A little bit of information, as you all may have heard or read, the senior center was closed for 3 days during the Christmas break. That decision was not made easily. I would have hoped that decision did not have to be made, but unfortunately, I could not get any cooperation or consensus from the commission to look for alternatives, and by the time alternatives were proposed, it was just too late in the process to do anything. As you are aware, the Senior Commission is seeking a legal opinion as to authority in those types of situations. I will say that during those few days, I received a call from the State Commissioner of Economic Development, Congressman Courtney, State Senator Edith Craig, among others, and we had very good conversations with them, and I will say that every one of the individuals that called me, including the Commissioner herself, understood what we did, and again, were supportive of that when it was explained. Dispatch, there's been some discussion about dispatch, and I just want to make sure I tell everyone where we are. We met since the last council meeting. We completed meeting with the 3 entities, potential providers that we consider to be qualified. That's Groton, Montville, and Ledyard Emergency Communication. Every one of them has pluses and minuses, and we explored those. We explored and asked hard questions about some of our areas of concern. Next week we will be meeting with OSET, that's the Office of Statewide Emergency Telecommunications. The reason being that we're not just looking at the future, what's the right decision to make right now. For instance, on Saturday I'm going to the ribbon cutting for the new Montville $6.5 million emergency services building, state of the art. So it's not that we're just looking right now to do something different than we have now. We're looking to the future. We're looking for the fact that the state of Connecticut pays for 911 service at 130 different communication centers throughout the state. That is probably more than there are on the entire east coast of the United States in our state. At some point, if you read the newspapers, you know that the state's going to look for money, and the question's going to be, are they going to continue to support 130 911 providers? And if they decide at some point in the future they're not going to, then you would have a decision at that point to pay for it ourselves, knowing who knows what it will cost, or being forced at that point to go out and find another provider after we have made investments in our own service. So we're looking at all of those things. In addition, all of this ties together with the issue of an independent police department, a police facility, and dispatch. These are all issues that are all dependent on each other. It is true that we don't have prices. I know a statement was made that, how can we make this decision? We don't even know what these other places are going to cost. You're absolutely right. We don't know what Ledyard emergency communication is going to cost. It's not just the line item that's in the budget that's the cost of it. It's future investments. It's the fact that we build a new police building, which I am certain we will do. What is the cost going to be of incorporating into that system? So we're proceeding. We will most likely be going out for prices from those 3 entities. And those prices will include all of the costs, present and future, operational and capital, that will be required for our service. So if you have questions about it, if you know people that have questions about it, please send them to me or to others who are working on this. We'd be happy to discuss this with you. The issue came up last month. I brought it up about our police being dispatched out of town. I've taken the suggestion from Councilor Allen, which was an excellent suggestion, that we draft a protocol. And I'm working with Lieutenant Finkelstein on that. We have a draft of that protocol, and I think it would be very advantageous to have a standard of what we do. Councilor Sounds mentioned the unfortunate incident in Norwich. There was an excellent example of an emerging issue that came up immediately. I will say that Lieutenant Finkelstein called me immediately. I told him it was absolutely fine for our officers. 3 of our officers went there and spent close to a shift up there in Norwich helping out. We certainly want to be supportive of issues like that. It's unusual for me to get involved in those types of decisions, though. But we want to have a situation where we know what the protocol is, and again, the number one issue is providing maximum and the best security for our citizens in our town. Resident Trooper Sergeant Gilman as I told you, has been promoted and reassigned to Troop B. We do have an interim officer, it's Sergeant Jim Nicholson. I met with him, and the mayor will be participating in the selection of the next resident trooper. So that's being worked out now, and I appreciate the fact that that I will be allowed to do that. And finally, just to follow up with Councilor Sounds on the status of town hall software, payroll was run both on the town side, Board of Ed side, with what I would consider to be minimal discrepancies or issues. In fact, really, I don't think there were any errors that were identified. That took a lot of work, as you can imagine, taking all of your payroll from one system, bringing it into another, and making sure that the numbers are identical. And it was a tremendous amount of time spent by ourselves and the Board of Ed. Maybe I've spoken too soon. The Board of Ed hasn't gotten their paychecks. We'll find out tomorrow. People GIS is progressing. We're setting up forms. We hope to shortly have a kiosk in the building department where people will be able to self-service in terms of applying for permits. And that's a system that will be allowed to grow, to work not just with the building department, but also with zoning, planning, wetlands, and even the assessor, to make sure that we have timely assessment of properties in fairness to all of our taxpayers. Thank you.
You failed to mention our meeting with CL&P.
Go right ahead.
Well, we met with CL&P. This was our meeting since the storm, and we identified what the issues that we had. We talked about the information we thought should have been available to us during the storm, and it turns out it should have been available to us. The information is there. We just were not receiving it from our representative. Or the person that had been assigned to us at the time, who's no longer assigned to us. So I thought it was a good meeting. It was not combative. We had a nice discussion, and I think the next go-round things will be a little better. Any questions for the mayor? Wow. Okay. Any old business? New business? Would anybody like to amend the agenda at this time? Admin committee. Counselor Michael Burke.
Mr. Steve. Okay, I'm sure we're going to have plenty of discussion on this. But I'm going to get the motion out there. I'll move to adopt a proposed ledger blight ordinance as contained in the draft dated November 14th, 2012.
Second. Motion has been made and seconded. At this time, we'll have discussion, and I think what let me just throw out there, after we have discussion, if it's the desire of the council to incorporate things that came from the attorney memo, from the public, from council members, and if you feel the changes are significant enough, say the word, we'll send it back to committee and make another pass at it. I will just mention that, in fact, the memo from the attorney is on IQM2. It's under correspondence. So at this time, I'll open it up for discussion. Who'd like to go first? Councilor Marshall.
As everyone probably realizes, a blight ordinance is probably next to impossible to write. Even someone as analytical as Mr. Treaster could not write a watertight blight ordinance. I got to the second page of your handout, and I found an issue already, and I'll touch on that in a second. What this is going to do, I'll give you an example. A couple years ago, I was hired to clean up a house of someone that had passed away. It was a very nice section of wellhead, and the grass was a little high, but that was his right. And there was garbage outside his property, but that's fine too. That's his property. I removed 27 dead animals from inside the house. That was right. I could argue that. But that's how bad this place was. There was mold about 4 feet up the walls. It was all contained in his house. And he had rats living on the property. The rats were going across onto neighboring properties. That's what the blight ordinance can do. There's no zoning violations, there's no building violations, everything was fine, except for the rats visiting the neighbor's property. That's what a blight ordinance is about. Mr. Brown, you're sure both safe. If you have project cars, they're safe. If you have a stone wall that's fallen down for a couple of years, I'm safe. So it's not, that's what it's all about. It's just, if you have rats on your property from your neighbor's house, that's what this is all about. And Eric, on your handout you gave us, you mentioned something about graffiti visible from the street. There's a house right down the road from me, the place where they deliver garbage. There's an outbuilding that the kids that painted with spray cans keep out, must be a fort or something. So that technically is graffiti, and it's visible from the street. So there's a lot of things that are open to interpretation, so this is a nearly impossible ordinance to write, even for someone as precise and analytical as yourself. So to get into debate and
But I did have the rats in there, though.
Mr. Treaster.
to get into debates and arguments over semantics is just, everyone's just wasting their time. This is a place to start tonight. We need to start somewhere, and that's what tonight is about. We're not going to get it right the first time. This is our third time around. We're not going to get it right the first time. We're just not. There will be a further discussion and changes made, but we can't do it all tonight. But we do need to start.
Counselor Sons.
I have provided the council, and I'd like to read into the record some changes that I would like to propose. I've served on the Town Council Land Use Planning Committee back when we started this process. And at the time, as I think you've already heard, we borrowed contents from other towns' ordinances. One of the things that we put in that has been removed that I think is important to keep are two paragraphs. And I'm going to read the two paragraphs to you. This would be under sections 3, under definitions. I would like to add 2 additional bullets. Bullet E, it is attracting illegal activity as evidenced by any of the following. A, persistent felonious or misdemeanor arrests on the premises. And B, multiple felony or misdemeanor warrants issued or served to persons residing on the premises. And by the way, then I'll tell you why. F, it is creating substantial and unreasonable interference with the use and enjoyment of other premises within the surrounding area as documented by history of repeated A, neighborhood complaints, and or B, police reports, and or C, repeated zoning violations. The reason I think it's important that we do this is that blight is also a public safety issue, as Councilor Marshall just indicated. I am aware of a house which has been visited by zoning, it's been visited by public health, it's been visited many, many times by the police, and no one can do anything about this house. As a matter of fact, the police visited this house because parties were being held in that house on a regular basis, and on one night, the police were there 6 times throughout the night. There was a fist fight where people were hurt. There was a girl who got punched in the face at this house where this party was going on. There were other things that happened that night, but that house remains blighted, and as it would happen, the parties stopped happening there with the help of the owner of the house. But my point is that a blighted house is also a place where illegal activities happen. And from the police point of view, they can't do anything until a crime is committed. They can address the crime that was committed, but that doesn't change the facility in which the crime took place. So I'd like to have the committee, or the council consider adding those 2. Finally, I would also add that I think we heard some really good points tonight. I hate to say it, we've got a lot of work to get this worded correctly. I would not be opposed to postponing a vote until we can get another copy written to incorporate some of the comments, specifically the one about defining dilapidation or dilapidated. So I'm willing to work, but I'm also not opposed to putting it off. Thank you.
Yes.
One of the things that I did when we were writing this ordinance, one of the things I what Mr. Treaster is right. The building code does not define dilapidation. So that would be, and plus with some of the, if we were to decide to incorporate the comments by the attorney, although some of them would be construed as minor, some of the other ones were actually adding paragraphs and talking about new owners, things like that, would, in my opinion, construed enough to be a change where it needs to go back to committee. And then come back as a fully vetted document. So this, that's my opinion, that based upon the attorney's comments, based upon some comments that were brought in tonight, striking of the agricultural could be construed as being a significant enough change. You're actually removing something that was exempted by the ordinance that was here. If we were to remove that language, that's enough to change, significantly alter. The definition of the timeline for date from 21 to 10 days, per state statute, would be significant enough to change the definition of what we proposed. So I recommend it go back to committee and clean up.
Any other comments, Mr. Krantz?
In addition to the comments that were made, I point out dilapidation isn't in section 117.1. I think to Mr. Prescott's point about the attorney's comments, it was an opinion from the attorney, legal opinion that was presented to the council until the subject that was discussed in that memo came up in the public hearing from the council. At that point, while yes, technically it was available to the public, it was not available in the same location as everything else. It was in the correspondence in a timely fashion from the time we received it. But I would say that it was not available easily to the public to be able to find it either by direct or by reference. So I would say that that was a part of it that was not available to the public. As it only becomes an issue because we, as the council, raised the issues that were in that memo, as opposed to waiting till now to discuss it as a legal opinion. So I also would recommend referring it back to committee to get it right and continue working on this.
Thank you. Councilor Allen?
Yeah, I would just briefly add that I think that we've got a lot of really good feedback from everybody in this room tonight on this, and that the adding to that, I understand what Mr. Treaster said about the legal memo that we received, but a lot of what we received in this legal memo that we've reviewed is stuff that makes this ordinance stick. And so I think we do need to look at adding a good bit, if not all, of the legal opinion to make this thing work, as well as all the other comments that we've received tonight to incorporate them.
Any other comments?
I think we need to incorporate them, otherwise somebody can, if we pass it without those in, we'll be taken to court.
Very good. Any other comments? I would just like to say, because I'm sure Mr. Treaster is expecting somebody to at least comment on his proposed ordinance. You're not? Okay, good.
You're welcome.
Well, the reason I like the ordinance, once we add in the things that we need to add in, is it because it is simple and relatively easy to understand. And I understand it's a little vague. Honestly, Mr. Treaster, if we put your proposal out to the public, we would have 1,000 people here voting against it, wanting us to vote against it. It gets down to so much detail. You took a nice 4-page ordinance and made it twice as long. But anyway, we appreciate your time, and we'll always debate that issue.
All I'm asking is you take a close look at it when you rewrite it.
We will.
When you take a look at it.
And I would like to, I think a couple of people commented, but I would also like to add, I didn't read the comments in the patch, but I guess some people said to look at other towns' ordinances. I think you all remember 2 years ago when I decided I was not going to chair land use anymore, that I handed to I think it was to you, a stack this tall of ordinance from other towns. And I think we initially based it on the Montville ordinance, actually. And so we actually have done that. So just to let everybody know, we did take the time to go through. CCM provided pages and pages to us, so we did do that. Yes?
I will add to that. that when this was handed to admin and I took this, I not only took yours, I also went online, found several more new blight ordinances that had been incorporated in various towns. We have looked at scores of other towns' ordinances. Many of them are drastically different from each other. So, as someone said earlier, Councilor Marshall, this is a hard thing to nail down, and we're not going to nail it down. It's a very subjective issue, but as many people have said, and as I believe, a very needed issue.
And I will only add that when I wrote the ordinance, as an example, the ordinance for the permanent town building committee, I remember we had these same kind of debates with that ordinance. And we said that, the nice thing about an ordinance is if you find something wrong, it's not a huge deal to change it and come back to a public hearing, et cetera. So I'll let you have the last words. Oh.
I forgot what they were.
Okay, so with this
Well, no, actually the last word that I wanted to say was basically that, yes, we may not nail it down the right way, the first time, but we want to try to get as close as we can.
Right.
Absolutely, absolutely. And since it is obviously the opinion of the council, I'm going to withdraw my motion. I'd like to make a new motion to...
Well, I can do that, Mr.
Okay.
Chair. Send it back to committee.
Let's do that.
Okay, who seconded the motion?
I did.
Let's table it. I'll entertain a motion to table. It will require a new
Yes.
public hearing, that's correct. And can we try to get it right this time? Because it costs us a lot of money to post a public hearing. And this is-
Nobody new comes to the next hearing.
This will be time number 4. Would you say that we should table this? Withdrawal is fine, they're happy to withdraw, and I'm going to move it back, send it back to committee. Okay? Next item, under admin, Councilor Eichelberg.
All right. I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution establishing a Ledyard Town Center / Route 12 Corridor Committee as contained in the draft dated December 12, 2012.
Second.
Discussion? Explanation?
Yeah, basically, because we combined planning and zoning, we needed to change the verbiage in this resolution. We needed to extend the resolution, and let's see, we had one member from planning, or was it one from planning, one from
The way it was,
zoning?
one planning member, one zoning member.
So we need, since we now have one from planning and zoning, we now have an extra citizen at large from the town of Ledyard incorporated in the members, and that's essentially what this does.
It makes them a member at large.
Yes.
Yeah, it takes what was the zoning member and make them now a member of large person.
Right.
Also, it modified the document to where it said planning commission, not planning and zoning.
Right, exactly.
Okay. Any other discussion? Roxanne, would you call the roll?
Mr. Song?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski?
Yes.
Mr. Eichelberg?
Yes.
Mr. France?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan?
Yes.
8 in favor, 0 opposed.
Item number 3.
Move to approve a resolution adopting a hazard mitigation plan update annex for the town of Ledyard as contained in the draft dated December 21, 2012. Essentially, what this makes...
Second.
Sorry. The mayor may want to elucidate this a bit, but essentially this makes us eligible for FEMA funds in the wake of Hurricane Sandy.
This is through the COG. The COG is really coordinating this, and they've helped us put these plans together. Our town engineer did review it, provided some comments, and it is a good document. And again, as you said, it's a requirement of the federal government to allow us to be eligible for that type of assistance.
Any other questions? Yes.
Just a comment. I read the document, and whoever wrote it did an excellent job. Mr. Treaster would be proud. It's actually more than 50 pages. It's really good, and it's good to have. It's good to know there is one because it talks about what happens in disasters, what happens with floods, where are the dams that could break, what do we need to be the escape routes in the event of certain types of emergencies. So it's an excellent document, and good job.
Any other comments? Roxanne, would you call the roll?
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski?
Yes.
Mr. Eichelberg?
Yes.
Mr. France?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan?
Yes.
Mr. Soms?
Yes.
8 in favor, 0 opposed.
Next item?
I'll move to appoint Ms. Sharon Steele, Democrat of 1914 Center Groton Road, Ledyard, to the Parks and Recreation Commission for a 3-year term ending December 29, 2013, filling a vacancy left by Ms. Trevaux.
Second.
Any discussion? Roxanne, would you call the roll?
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski?
Yes.
Mr. Eichelberg?
Yes.
Mr. France?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan?
Yes.
Mr. Soms?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
8 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. Next item?
I'll move to appoint Mr. Larry Perdue, unaffiliated of 10 Tucker's Run, Ledyard, as an alternate member to the Water Pollution Control Authority for a 3-year term ending April 11, 2015, filling a vacancy left by Mr. Saccone.
Second.
Any discussion?
Water Pollution Control Authority is very happy to have Mr. Perdue. I know him, and as we discussed, we need members, and he'll be good.
Any other comments? Roxanne, would you call the roll?
Mr. Dombrowski?
Yes.
Mr. Eichelberg?
Yes.
Mr. France?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan?
Yes.
Mr. Soms?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
8 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. Finance, number 6.
Make a motion to adopt the proposed ordinance establishing a retirement plan as contained in the draft dated November 12, 2012, forwarded by the pension board.
Second.
Discussion?
We have some minor editorial changes based on the renumbering of ordinances back in 1993. When this ordinance was written, it grabbed a number from an older ordinance that had been superseded, is not there, and then the numbering was redone. So in the notice of cancellation, section 5, the first ordinance, which this is ordinance number 35, is actually number 121, and then the second ordinance is listed number 67, was superseded when the renumbering happened in 1993. So those two administrative changes were being made to the ordinance.
And we can make administrative changes?
Yes.
Any other discussion? Roxanne, would you call the
Mr.
roll?
Eichelberg?
Yes.
Mr. France?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan?
Yes.
Mr. Soms?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski?
Yes.
8 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. Item number 7.
We'll make a motion to transfer and appropriate $3,612.44 from LV's Fund 0211 fund balance 211-31000 into account 2112-0901-56100 LV's CNR Fund operating supplies for the purchase of the following medical supplies: 8 DEY adult EpiPens, 8 DEY pediatric EpiPens, 1 cardiac science survival link AED battery, 1 cardiac science power heart G3 lithium AED battery, and 1 Ledyard compact suction unit.
Second.
Any discussion? Roxanne, would you call the roll?
Mr. France?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan?
Yes.
Mr. Soms?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski?
Yes.
Mr. Eichelberg?
Yes.
8 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. Item number 9.
Make a motion to approve the Town Council Department Capital Improvement Project's fiscal year 2013-2014 budget to be included in the general government's proposed budget.
Second.
Discussion.
What's been proposed here are a number of small items from the Town Council, primarily the laptop sinking fund, which was used, basically consumed in its amount for the purchase of the 4 laptops for the new council members a year and a half ago. And what this does is it puts in a $1,500 amount each year to go forward for council, town council members, potentially in the future, to supply laptops if required.
Any other discussion? Is this Bill?
No, that the next one is what we talked about.
Roxanne,
We're
would
talking
you,
about the recording.
Roxanne, would you call the roll?
Mrs. McGrattan?
Yes.
Mr. Soms?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski?
Yes.
Mr. Eichelberg?
Yes.
Mr. France?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
8 in favor, 0
Yeah.
opposed.
Motion carries.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the Town Council Department fiscal year 2013-2014 budget to be included in the general government's proposed budget.
Second.
Discussion?
I would like to propose a change to the budget. As I think I mentioned earlier in my report, the IT committee, the town council has these meetings recorded and made public through IQM2, basically broadcast over the internet. And the IT committee discussed with Mr. Bruce Edwards the fee of $35 per meeting, which is an excellent deal. We talked about other ways to structure that. And we concluded that we'd like to change the $35 per meeting charge for recording and publicizing to $40. So that changes the annual cost for TV production from $855 to $960.
I'm trying to decide.
So I should have said that would be a friendly amendment. Yeah.
Okay, we'll take it as a friendly amendment. Any discussion? Roxanne, would you call the roll?
Mr. Soms?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski?
That
Yes.
guy.
Mr. Eichelberg?
Yes.
Mr. France?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan?
Yes.
8 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. Item number 10.
Make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign the third amendment to an agreement between the Southeastern Connecticut Regional Resources Recovery Authority, SCAR, and the town of Ledyard to provide solid waste management services as contained in the draft dated November 1st, 2012.
Second.
Discussion?
Just to summarize it, the presentation that was made at the beginning of this meeting summarized the value that SCAR presents, the lining the timing of all the contracts into one time is a prudent thing to do as the council to allow the mayor to do that.
Yes.
I remember the early years of this, of the organization, and the tipping fees were all over the map, and that has really quieted down. I think we're very fortunate to be a part of SCAR, and we've done a great job.
Any other discussion? Roxanne, would you call the roll?
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski?
Yes.
Mr. Eichelberg?
Yes.
Mr. France?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan?
Yes.
Mr. Soms?
Yes.
8 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. I understand land use planning did not have the opportunity to finish their discussion on the next item. Is that correct?
Number 11.
I keep skipping things. Number 11, sorry about that. Big item, too. Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize the mayor to exercise the 2-year option provision of the curbside collection contract bid number 2011-05.
Second.
Essentially, as the contract for curbside collection was engaged in originally, there was an option for a 2-year extension. The service that had been provided by the current provider has been good. The comments that we received through the mayor's office have been very positive, and that when issues have been raised, they've been addressed. So I think this is a prudent thing. The nominal 3% increase year over year is reasonable, I think, for the services provided. It also alleviates any room to do a competitive bid given the service is good. No reason to want to change it.
Any discussion?
Maybe it's just the route that I'm on. I have been getting, I'm serious, my neighbors have been giving me a number of complaints about the curbside pickup. Trash cans being thrown anywhere. My trash can, in fact, this week was thrown down and broken. So maybe it's just the route that I'm on, but what we've seen hasn't been that great.
Yes.
I said on the original group of this council that was able to participate in the bid review. We looked at the tonnage collected in the past. We looked at the tonnage from multiple providers. We have a trend of savings in reduced curbside collection because of recycling. We have, in my opinion, at that time and in this time, a very responsible provider. What I would suggest is that one of the things they offer is their own webpage and they also answer the phone. So if any resident has a complaint about Sterling curbside collection, you can call them directly, or you can call the Public Works Department. I suspect that, I've heard some of the complaints too, I see them on Facebook. They're minimal compared to some of the other haulers we've had in the past. And I think the difference with this hauler is that if you call them, they will address the complaint. Could be they have a new employee, that happens. But the difference with this one is they do address the complaint.
Then I will direct my neighbors to their website.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Council sounds said it very well. But again, any issues like that, feel free to call my office. My assistant spends a good amount of his time on that. I spent an hour of my time today with a customer. It had nothing to do with the provider, but it was an issue that the provider uncovered and was a very irate customer. But and again, it had nothing to do with it. But the fact is, people do call and they have them call because if there is an issue with a particular route, with a driver or anything like that, and I will endorse the fact, I occasionally call as a customer for bulk pickup and things like that, and when you call, they pick up. And you have people that and we haven't always had that. We've never been put on hold. We've never been gotten an answering machine. Again, please have them call us because we want to know those things. That's very, very important for us to get feedback on that, and I'm sure Superior would feel the same way.
And I should at this time commend our garbage czar, Mark, who does an excellent job of keeping up with comments online and jumps in when he needs to. Councilor Sons?
Thank you. I just wanted to add a few more comments by way of explanation. The reason we're doing this way is that we structured the contract to be 4 years or 2. That gave the town an out if we signed this agreement and weren't happy with it. At the 2-year mark, we'd get out. What we're basically saying is we're not unhappy. We don't want to get out. We do have a 4-year contract. It also allows the service provider an escalator for his costs, and fuel costs have gone up. So I think it's a good deal for the town.
Good point.
If I could say one more
Yes.
thing, in light of the SCARA contract that we just approved also, if you think of it, this contract will expire, this next round, in the middle of 2015, which is going to be just about a year or so before we need to start thinking about, where SCARA is going, and we might need to incorporate some lessons from that and some items in there, so the timing may be right also.
Any further discussion? Roxanne, call the roll.
Mr. France?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Mrs. McGrattan?
Yes.
Mr. Soms?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski?
Yes.
Mr. Eichelberg?
Yes.
8 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. Now, at this time, it's my understanding that land use
Have not moved on this item.
has not moved on this item, so we will send that back to committee. Item number 14. Well, I'm skipping 13 because clearly we don't have time for chit-chat.
So I'll move we enter into an executive session for the purpose of reviewing records, reports, and statements of strategy or negotiation with respect to collective bargaining pertaining to the Ledyard Police Union Local 2693L. Okay? Council number 15, AFCME, AFL-CIO for the period of July 1, 2011 to June 30, 2014. And 2, the Ledyard Firefighters Union Local 3167, UPFFA, IAFF for the period of July 1, 2012 to June 30, 2015. This action is taken without prejudice of the town council's right to discuss in private strategy. Does anybody else see the rest of this? No. Strategy and/or negotiations with respect to collective bargaining pursuant to Connecticut General Statute, Chapter 14. Included in the executive session will be the members of the town council, the mayor, and the HR administrator, Mr. Don Steinwall.
Second.
Any discussion? Roxanne, call the roll.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Ms. New Bratton?
Yes.
Mr. Soms?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Dombrowski?
Yes.
Mr. Eichelberg? Mr. Brandt?
Yes.
You were having trouble with your...
That guy, it's that guy.
Counselor Steele.
Motion. That's what I called it. At this time, we will sign the student papers. I think we have 2 students, correct? Or 1? So for that, and we will, after that, we will clear the room for the executive session.
We get a stretch break.
We have to do it all at the same time.
You said that
Oh, good,
clearly,
thank you. Yes.
precisely, and I could not get it out.
And you yelled.